Jim's Nerd Nation. It's not a passing sensation or a fascination. It's more like me doing verbal masturbation. One Piece, Chapter 19, Devil Fruit. Hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, of course, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the epic and awesome tale of One Piece. We are now on Chapter 19, and that would be the second chapter of Volume 3, for those that are following along. Last chapter, just a quick recap, was pretty action-packed. We had Luffy and Buggy just pretty much going at it, beating the living shit out of each other. Although I shouldn't really say that because of them both having the powers from eating the devil fruits that they have, they're, I wouldn't say impervious to harm, but it's much harder to hurt each other in the sense, it's more like superheroes kind of going at it. They just pummel each other, and they certainly can take a lot of damage before it really affects them at all. So, but at any rate, what wound up happening is that the Luffy's hat was given to him by Shanks 10 years ago, and it's certainly something that's near and dear to him. It's a treasure. Buggy found this out and pretty much grabbed it from him, ruined it by sticking his knives through it, put it on the ground, spit on it, and Luffy just got pissed off and went apeshit and pretty much just ran right through him, and pretty much picked him up to do a pile driver on him. So that's where the last chapter left off, and that's where this one begins. And Luffy winds up going, and then he picks up the hat, and he says, you ruined it, and you spat on it, and he starts rubbing it in his face while he's holding him on the ground. And Buggy's going, no, don't, and I thought it was funny. Luffy's going, no, it's your own spit, So anyway, Luffy threatens him and says, don't you ever talk about, Shanks, about yourself and Shanks in the same breath again. Buggy basically says, listen, I'll do whatever I want. That man, stole a great treasure from me, and, I pretty much hate him, with all my heart. So we then go, and it flashes to a quick scene for the townsfolk that are up in the refugee camp. And one of them, goes and says, hey, listen, the mayor's been gone way too long. There's something must have happened. There's more cannon fire than normal today. I'm going to check on him. So one of the other townsfolk says, you're not going alone, and basically they kind of start up a rebellion, a riot, so to speak. Everybody is, getting ready with their pitchforks and staffs and knives. And they're pretty much just like, hey, you know what? Enough is enough. We're going to go take our town back. So they all get all reared up and ready to go and wind up, so now they're en route, I'm assuming, back to the town over there to reclaim it from Buggy and his crew. So, and then also during the exchange between Luffy and Buggy, Luffy starts beating the shit out of Buggy. He's pretty angry at this point now because of him ruining his hat. And Buggy's actually taking some damage, it looks like, getting pummeled. And some of the crew members that were pretending to be unconscious just so they don't get their ass whipped around anymore in the fight are kind of like amazed. They're like, hey, the captain's just playing around, right? He's going to get serious pretty soon, So at any rate, that just goes to show you, Luffy is definitely, doing some damage to Buggy. So most of the rest of the chapter winds up taking place in a flashback, which is actually pretty significant because it shows us that as they were coming up together as pirates, red-haired Shanks and Buggy, were on the same crew. And as this flashback starts and ensues, they're both arguing, North Pole, South Pole, North Pole, South Pole. And the captain of the ship that they're on says, you know what, enough with you two. Who cares who's right and who's wrong? Which one's colder? You guys both need to just cool off. Because they're arguing over if the North Pole or the South Pole is colder. So they clearly don't see eye to eye. At any rate, they wind up, the captain announces, hey, we're coming upon a ship. We're going to board them. They're pirates. They're obviously going to steal and everything else. And Buggy, he's excited. He's raring to go. He's got his knives out, and this is, of course, a young Buggy. And same thing with Shanks. And Shanks, who has, of course, the straw hat, he says, oh, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And of course, they argue about that, too. So the significant part that happens after that is that when they do board the ship, obviously everybody kind of goes off their separate ways to plunder and pillage the ship. And Buggy comes across a treasure map with a great treasure that is supposed to be buried on the ocean floor. And he's all excited, and he's going to keep it for himself. He's not going to share it with the crew. He wants to be a great pirate someday, and this is his first treasure map, so it's obviously very significant to him. So he finds this treasure map, and he tucks it away. And Shanks winds up kind of walking in on him and saying, "Hey, what's going on or whatever, and he gets real defensive right away and says, "Oh, absolutely nothing, nothing." So anyway, they have a little bit of an exchange of words, and Shanks explains that the captain has they've found devil fruit to be on board, and they talk about how if you eat the devil fruit, you're granted with great powers, but ultimately the sea turns against you. So apparently, any type of devil fruit that you eat causes you to not have the ability to swim no matter what. So, as Shanks is explaining this to Buggy, Buggy goes and is kind of talking out loud and in his head too, and he's thinking in his mind, who would ever want to do that? Because, and of course he just found this treasure map, which leads to treasure at the bottom of the ocean. How the hell can you get to the treasure at the bottom of the ocean if you can't swim to it? So at any rate, he winds up, though, listening to Shanks, and Shanks says, the devil fruit, though, is it's a great treasure. Somebody would pay 100 million berries for one of these. And Buggy's, what do you mean 100 million berries? That's more than a dozen treasure chests full of gold. I can't believe it. So the captain has said and put out a challenge basically and said that any of his crewmates that wants to eat the devil fruit, they're welcome to go right ahead, right? So Buggy devises a plan in his head, and he goes and says and announces the next day, "I'm going to eat the devil fruit." And some of the other pirates are, young whippersnapper, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, right? And so Buggy goes and he eats the fruit, and everybody's going and holding their breath in anticipation of some kind of transformation to happen. And he says, and one of the guys says, maybe it wasn't ripe enough, this and that. And Buggy goes and is talking to himself under his breath or in his head, and he says, idiots, I switched the devil fruit with just a fruit last night, and he's going to keep the fruit now, of course, and go try to sell it, so he can have a fortune and fame, have his own pirate ship, whatever it is that he's going to do. He thinks it's worth all this money. So, at any rate, Buggy goes walking off. He's by himself a little bit later on, and he goes and he's looking over his treasure map, and of course he's got the devil fruit now, and Shanks walks in on him, right? So, as Shanks walks in on him, he goes and he stuffs the fruit in his mouth, and, just holding it in his mouth, and, just so Shanks doesn't see that he still has it. And Shanks is like, what the hell? Okay, whatever. And as he's walking off, he goes, you better stop taking food or the cook is going to kill you. He's going to skin you alive. So at any rate, Buggy thinks he's in the clear, right? And he's about to go and pull it out of his mouth. And Shanks comes and walks back in and says, hey, wait, actually, what were you? And so Buggy winds up swallowing the devil fruit. And swallows the devil fruit, and then he winds up falling overboard or whatever, overboard of the ship, and he can't swim because now he's ingested the devil fruit. He blames Shanks, wrongfully, I think, but he blames Shanks for pretty much all his misfortunes, because if Shanks hadn't walked in on him, his plan would have been okay, and he would have been able to go and sell that devil fruit, have this treasure map, everything else. So he winds up going overboard, and he can't swim because he's, of course, eaten the devil fruit. And Shanks jumps in after him to save him, So it winds up coming back out of the flashback, and the chapter winds up ending with Luffy basically going, okay, so Shanks saved your life, saved you from drowning. What's the big deal? And Buggy's like, no. He ruined my life, He ruined all my plans and everything. So he looks at it, obviously, in the polar opposite way that most sane, normal people would look at it. But so more or less that's how the chapter ends, and we're left hanging for what's going to happen in the next chapter. We also wind up seeing Nami, and she goes, oh, Jesus, I've been watching this fight for so long, this battle from a distance here, I kind of forgot what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to go and steal the treasure and get the hell out of here. So all in all, it was a fun chapter. It gives us some background, and it kind of fills in the gap and the void that we had with the background of some of these characters. Because up until now, me as a new reader, I have no attachment or affiliation to Shanks whatsoever, or Buggy for that matter. I just think he's kind of a piece of shit, But after going and finding out some of their backstory, this is the genius of the way the writing is put together, I think, so far. Now I have more of an affiliation and feel and feel for these characters more. So great as far as the character development goes. But everyone, brothers and sisters, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And certainly leave a like if you feel so inclined. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we'll catch you in the next one. Once again, brothers and sisters, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you haven't done so, and take a look at some of my other reviews and videos in general. We'll catch you in the next one, brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation.